Yeah, the main way is we will take data that's already we'll basically take data that's the result of a implementation, either for ourselves or for our clients. And we'll basically go in and build dashboards or relationships or reports to be able to answer important business questions, either for ourselves or for the clients that we work for. Yeah, it summarizes large, complex data better than any other analytic solution I've dealt with without the need for sampling, gives the right level of detail, does the right level of breakdowns, aggregation. I I consistently not only use Adobe Analytics, but I use other data sets and compare against Adobe Analytics. And as I go into Adobe Analytics and compare, as long as I've done the query right and the other systems, they're very, very close. And if anything, with a lot of Adobe's newer products, they've gotten more accurate over time. I like that it's accurate. I like that I don't have to do a lot of explaining. There's enough explaining in the world of web analytics to have to go back and explain why data is problematic. And so, like I said, provided that the implementation is correct, it's a very easy conversation, even if people may not like the answer. I think the biggest room for improvement is performance. When I go in certain times of the day or for certain clients, it's slow and it won't load the reports that I need. And as a result, needed to answer a question where you normally have the expectation of it being a near real time answer that you get. When you have to wait for reports to load or you have to wait because the reports can't load at all, it's a really unfortunate thing. It's a big problem actually. So I'd say that's one area of improvement. It's just improving the performance of the reports so that they'll load consistently all the time, quickly and effectively. Oh, I'd say 9 or a 10 consistently. Yeah, anytime you're dealing with very large scale data that needs to be processed in real time very quickly, this definitely shines. So if you've got more than 50 to 100 million page views in a monthly period or more, then being able to use an Adobe Analytics to then and be able to answer those questions and literally get data at any time of the year for the most part with very little delay is exceptional. So that's probably what I'd say is the best use cases that are situated. The larger the data set, maybe not necessarily the more complex the data set, but the larger the data set, and the more moving parts to it, the better this tool does at being able to answer it than others in the market. Historically, I've looked at a lot of different products. More recently, I'd say Matomo and Google Analytics. Um, those are probably the two big ones that I've seen around. So yeah, it's more feature rich. It provides more dimensions, more breakdowns, and it also scales data better. I'd say business results, we tend to see better media and marketing engagement as a result of using Adobe Analytics. And that's largely because we can measure the effectiveness of campaigns and we can figure out which ones are driving better engagement, whether it's top of funnel or bottom of funnel. That's probably the biggest business result we see. It's obviously, we even use it for other non traditional use cases like A B testing to figure out which experience is better or not, that type of thing. I'd say 9. The industry is changing so fast that in many cases, Adobe Analytics may be displaced by other competitors, right? And so that'd be the only thing, even within Adobe's own product line, customer journey analytics, directly competes with Adobe in the same market. So not renewing Adobe might mean that I'm going with a different product, such as CJA. So we mostly use it with our clients that we're using it with, and we're typically going in and configuring the reports to measure marketing engagements, campaign performance, and user experience. And so, how we do it is we normally need to look at the key factors that drive those metrics. So, campaign codes, uh, page names, URLs, those types of things. So, key dimensions. And then normally Adobe makes the metrics piece fairly easy, right? Just by tying in whatever metrics are associated with them. So, how we configure them is we figure out what the dimensions are that we need to use and why we use those dimensions. It's driven by the business need, right? I've got some B2Bs that are all about lead generation, right? So it's all about filling out online forms. So most of our high value actions are all implemented in Adobe Analytics to monitor online form submission or identity capture. I've got e-commerces that work primarily with selling. And so most of them, their objectives are all about sales, orders, units, and revenue. So it's flexible enough to meet either need. Again, I'd say probably about a 9 in terms of overall usability. Yes. Yeah. I'll say yes. I'll say yes. Most of the time. No, almost never does. And that's okay because it's so flexible to deploy. There's lots of decisions that you make along the way that might be changes based on learning new information, learning about different business needs that weren't documented, those types of things. So it almost never goes as planned, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Yes. I'd say we use a whole cadre of cloud-based software solutions. So we're really heavily involved in the Amazon stack, building custom data pipelines. We do a lot of work with obviously the Microsoft product line. I already named off a couple of competitors which we use on occasion. Those are the types of ones that we use. I'd recommend, I can only think of a couple that I probably wouldn't recommend. And most of it would be it's not the right tool for the right job, right? So for example, Google Tag Manager or Google Analytics, I would probably recommend that fine for a small medium business, not a problem, right? But Adobe Analytics is probably overkill, right? And Google Analytics is typically not situated very well for large businesses. So it's stuff like that where most of the time I'd recommend most of the products I'm working with only on the basis of the right use case for them.